Good afternoon. Welcome to Japan Zoomina at the UC San Diego. My name is Kiyoizumi, Executive Manager of Japan Forum for Innovation and Technology. Let me start with introducing our school. You are at Global Policy and Strategy School at the UC San Diego. We specialize in international relations and the public policy, and we also offer Masters of International Affairs with Japan specialization. We are the Japan Center under the School of Global Policy and Strategy, and we focus on the research, education, and community outreach for Japanese community across the Pacific. And for more information, please visit jfit.ucsd.edu. We have our website and also LinkedIn page and the Twitter accounts to follow our activities. On our website at jfit.ucsd.edu, we have a news media tab, which we publish a bi-weekly San Diego, Japan news flash to cover current trends in San Diego and Japan in various aspects, including society, politics, and economics. And we also have Japan Zoomina tab. In addition to our live event like today's, we have a compilation of previous the Zoominas as a JZ gallery. And we offer whole previous the collection of Zoominas categorized into business, economy, politics, society, arts, and sciences. And when you click one of those categories, you will see the videos, the Zoomina videos, and with the summary and the link, you can view all the recordings. For today, we have a guest from Tokyo, Mr. Akihiko Soyama, the president of LinkJ. But we have very interesting Zoominas coming up in the springtime too. March 8th and the 9th, we have US-Japan relations under Biden-Kishida entering a VUCA era. Featuring Professor Hikotani of Gakushuin University. Professor Hikotani will be a visiting faculty for GPS at UC San Diego in the spring quarter. And on March the 22nd, we have Shibusawa Eiichi's legacy and Japan's new capitalism, featuring Professor Patricia McLaughlin of University of Texas, and Mr. Robert Feldman of Morgan Stanley MUFG Securities in Tokyo. Please note the US, the time is going to change into a daylight savings time, the so-called summertime, in the second week of March. So after 22nd of March, that the Zoomina, the Tokyo time or Japan time will be 8 a.m. So currently, the winter time, Zoomina is 9 to 10 in Tokyo time, but in the summer, it will change to 8 to 9 a.m. But please stay tuned for more Zoomina announcements. And during the Zoomina, please use Q&A function of this Zoom, and Mr. Soyama and I will address to your questions as much as possible, but we only refer you as the first name instead of full name to protect your privacy. So without further ado, let me introduce Mr. Soyama of LinkJ today. Let me give you a brief background. Mr. Soyama has been president and the CEO of LinkJ. LinkJ stands for Life Science Innovation Network in Japan, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Since it's in foundation in 2016, so that's 6 years ago, they started the operation. Earlier in his career, he served as deputy director at METI of Government of Japan, project manager at Boston Consulting Group in Tokyo, vice president and general manager at Johnson & Johnson in Japan, president at Biotronic Japan, and also president at Haemonetics Japan. Aki holds an MBA from Columbia University and a Bachelor of Science from the University of Tokyo. Aki also serves as a specially appointed professor of Tohoku University and life science related committee members at the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, METI, and AMED, which is equivalent of NIH of Japan, and Kobe City and Sapporo City, etc. So I'm very honored and delighted to welcome the Aki. Please welcome and join. Thank you for joining our Zoominar today.
Yeah, Taka-san, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I'm Aki of LinkJ, President and the CEO. So thank you for your kind introduction. And Taka-san and Professor Ulrike Schede of JFIT have been supporting LinkJ's activity for a long time, since its establishment. As a supporter of LinkJ, thank you so much. I would like to appreciate your cooperation for a long time at this moment. Thank you. So in next 15 minutes, I'd like to share you the overview of life science innovation trend in Japan, as well as overview of LinkJ. It's I call it ecosystem builder in Japan. Yeah. So Taka-san, would you please share the PowerPoint slide?
Certainly.
Yeah, thank you very much for helping me. So maybe next page, please.
Sure.
So this too is today's content. So next page, please. So as for the Japanese life science innovation trend, these numbers are the startup companies established in each year, which covers all the fields, not only for bio or some areas, but you can see, as you can see, in 1980s, 90s, only 50, 70, 90 startups were established per year. But as for example, 2019, more than 2,500 of startups were established in Japan. And among them, about 30% are in bio, healthcare, or medical device fields in Japan. So number of startups are rapidly increasing, especially in recent maybe 4 or 5 years. Next slide, please. And also, the fundraising activity by those startups have become very active for the last 5 or 10 years. So left-hand side is shows the fundraising number of company startups and total value by startups. So it's increasing a lot. And right-hand side shows the fundraising value per startup. It's also increasing a lot. So next slide, please. But if we compare those numbers with other countries, the scale is still small. As you can see in this slide, Japan, US, UK, Germany, Israel, those are the fundraising value by drug discovery startups. So Japan's fundraising scale is about 1/5 of US, 1/3 of UK, 1/5 of Germany, and 1/2 of Israel. Yeah, this is a situation increasing a lot, but still the scale is small. Next slide, please. But on the other hand, as many of you know, there exists plenty of promising seeds in Japan, especially in the life science area. This graph shows the originating country of top 100 sales drugs. Numbers are very old ones, but the situation is, I believe, almost the same in recent years. So from Japan, many hundred drugs from top 100 sales have been coming. Next slide, please. So for the last 10 years, GOJ, Government of Japan, has strongly promoting these innovations. This is one of the very strong factor for today's Japanese situation. As you can see on the left side of this slide, so many government political measures have been taken. It starts from about 10 years ago from growth strategy of Abenomics. One of the life science area has been one of the very strong growth area for the Japanese government to invest. Then after that, PMD Act, Pharmaceutical Administrative Act, have been revised a lot. And for example, early pre-approval system have been launched by this law. So it's about 7 or 8 years ago. It's much earlier than US or UK and other countries. And as Takashi mentioned, AMED is a funding agency of Japan, like NIH in US, was established 7 years ago. And in MHLW, this is a Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, new office to support life science venture startup companies was established. Then various services to support those startups have been launched in 2018, 2019, and the Digital Transformation Agency was established about 6 months ago or so. And more is coming on the right-hand side, as shown. University fund, 100 billion US dollar, which is led by next Ministry of Education and Global Biocommunity Initiative. I'll talk about it later. And also a Child and Family Agency will be established soon. So in a word, as written in the bottom of this slide, Japanese government has changed their strategy from regulation only to promotion and ecosystem building. This is the situation in Japan. So next slide, please. So this is a recent example for Japanese government measures. So only a few months ago, maybe in December last year, Japanese government launched 500 million US dollar supplemental budget in order to support and promote ecosystem in drug discovery startups only. So this kind of activities, more have been launched, and also more will come, I believe. Next slide, please. And also, GOJ is now launching Global Biocommunity Initiative. They have already approved 4 local areas, innovation hubs to support, and also they will soon approve 2 global hubs in Japan. One is western side of Japan, and the other is east or central Japan, metropolitan area in Japan. Then the point is Japanese government accelerates the network among them, as well as network with the bioclusters abroad, like Boston, San Francisco, San Diego, London, and other countries. So this kind of activities have been launched and will be launched soon. This is the situation of Japan. So I'd like to, next slide, please, share the overview of LinkJ. So for the first 7-8 minutes, I explained about the government initiatives to support and promote this kind of innovation in life science area in Japan. And from industry side, of course, there are many activities and many more innovation hubs have grown up for the last 4 or 5 years. So next slide, please. So LinkJ is one of them. And as Taka-san kindly explained, said, LinkJ was established about 6 years ago. Its official name is Life Science Innovation Network Japan. L means in a wide range of life science. I means to support and promote innovation. N and K means by creating network or ecosystem. J means both in Japan, of course, but as well and abroad. So we are trying to establish this network not only in Japan, but also with other countries. So our concept is shown on the right hand side. So in order to, we believe that innovation comes from diversity. So in order to support and promote innovation, life science players which ranges from academia, industry, from big companies to small startups or individuals, and also a government organization should get together and connect. Yeah, because innovation is connecting dots. Yeah, it's a very famous phrase, right? And also, we are now, we have been focusing to support new innovators and startup companies to support them to grow and also take off. So we have launched, we have done a lot of incubation or acceleration programs and also matching events and this kind of thing. So our member is now about 550 various kind of companies, organizations, academias also. And for the last 1 year, LinkJ and its members have hosted more than 500 events per year with a theme with life science innovation. This is our overview of LinkJ. So next slide, please. So, as many of you know, especially in life science fields, innovation or seeds comes from academia or national institute. So, for the last 4 or 5 years, we, LinkJ, have made many efforts and established a very strong ties with almost all major Japanese universities and also a national institute, including JAXA. For example, it's like NASA in US, right? So we have collaborated a lot. And also, there are many other life science hub cities in Japan. For example, Kobe City in western part, Kyoto Prefecture, Osaka Prefecture is a very strong life science innovation hub with long history. And also, for example, central Japan, metropolitan area, Kawasaki City, Yokohama City, Kanagawa Prefecture, and so on, there is a very strong innovation hub. So we have collaborated with those other innovation clusters a lot through that. For example, we signed the MOU for collaboration with those cities. So on the next slide, please. And also, we have established a global network because we have only 6 years history, so it's not enough. So we are expanding more and more. But in US and the UK, France, and other countries, we signed the MOU with life science cluster hubs and collaborate a lot. And the first and second MOU signed was with UC San Diego and Biocom, California, which headquarters is located in San Diego. and we have collaborated a lot. For example, with UC San Diego, we have hosted for last 1 year more than 10 webinars to introduce a very well advanced, high cutting edge science in life science area. This kind of activities we have done. So next slide, please. So I talked about the San Diego location. So I'd like to show you where we are in Japan, Linkjay. So Linkjay's location is, we are locating in a very business center in Tokyo. It's only 10 minutes walk from Tokyo Station, called Nihonbashi, with many Japanese pharmaceutical companies, headquarters, business development offices, and so on. Then within this small town, so each companies can go back and forth with 2-3 minutes walk. So it's very small town, but the very concentration is very heavy. And within this area, Linkjay's facilities exist in 15 buildings in this small area. Next slide, please. So we have various facilities, functions to service life science players in Japan. There are conference rooms, maybe 50-40 conference rooms in this town, and also communication lounge. It's about 6 or 7 floors. Service offices, it's like we work for life science players with much reasonable price. So that is also 6 or 7 floors. An office for startups, shared wet lab and rental lab offices for startups and medium-sized or big-sized companies. Next slide, please. So as for the rental lab and office in Tokyo metropolitan area, we have started operation for the last 2 years or so, 3 or 4, and more is coming. So the point is in the location is very close to the center of Tokyo, 3 to 5 miles from Tokyo Station, and the other one is 20 miles from Tokyo Station. 20 miles from Tokyo Station facility is located just next to National Cancer Center of East Hospital. So we are closely collaborating with them. So next slide, please. And this is our last slide to explain Linkjay's activities. So not only in Japan, but also we have been starting rental lab and office business in US, Boston, San Francisco, San Diego. Boston, the operation has already started, and San Francisco and in San Diego, those lab and office will operate within a year or so. Or Mitsui Fudosan, maybe you can see the logo of new logo of logo in the right-hand side slide of this slide. So Mitsui Fudosan, I'd like to explain. So is Linkjay's big sponsor. It's a Japanese top real estate developing firm. So they are doing business very actively in Japan, of course, but also in US. So they are providing these facilities. Thank you very much for your attention. This is the overview of Japan's life science innovation trend and also the introduction of Linkjay, part of them. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Aki-san. It's always amazing how fast you built this up in the past just 6 years. It's amazing. You know, I remember Mitsui Fudosan, kind of the major sponsor to Linkjay, came to San Diego, I think the fall of 2015, with the concept of Linkjay, even just it's idea of Linkjay. And they looked at everything in San Diego, UCSD, surrounding those research institute, Scripps, Salk Institute, etc. And of course, Biocom. Then they took the best part of everything and created the LinkJ. And now, under your leadership, it's really going so-called gangbusters, I would say. in Japan. As probably many of the audience would know, Japan is not that large country. The area or the size is similar to California, I believe, even though a lot more population. But the organizing a whole university, research institute, and that's one side. And the other side is investors. And along with Mitsui, LinkJ is providing those incubation space or rental labs to create infrastructure. So I think the next will be kind of investor, in addition to government funding, a private investor or venture capitalist or angel investors network. Then that will be probably complete system, right? So I like to discuss maybe three most important elements in health or any startup or venture innovation ecosystem. One is technology, science, so to speak, the unique discovery or the invention to create a new innovation at the end. Number two is funding, right? In the US, of course, the grant funding, SBIR, STTR kind of more public funding is important, but more so from the venture capitalists. They are going along with the startup companies to create the value and more products and services to serve people. And then third is the management talent. I think those three. So science, discovery. Second is funding. Third is management talent. Those are extremely important. And you have to have all three to be successful. And I like to discuss, no place in the world is perfect. US is struggling at its own way, but try to produce the results. So in Japan, you saw, or you are the one of the builders of those ecosystem, and how you see in the future in those three elements might evolve or improve. So first, I like to talk about discovery, science, discovery efforts. My understanding is most of the technologies, opportunities are from academia in Japan, right?
Yeah.
So how do we, from my experience, the academic, the researchers, namely professors, tend to do more of a in-depth research instead of advancing to more so to speak business or commercial. They are more interested in true pursuit of science, right? How we can change their thinking into, yes, pursuit of science is one, but going more downstream is another, and it's as important as making the science practical or applied to the society. What do you think? Is there a trend in Japan? The academic professors started thinking, starting the company means more applications, may not produce as many papers or journal articles, but it's very meaningful. Do you see any changes of their thoughts or sentiments?
Yes, Yeah, their change. I'm sure that there exists a change. Yeah. For example, 6, 7 years ago, when we started LinkedIn, within academia world, especially in Japan, there still exists for example, if some professor have made lots of money by establishing startup and so on, then many other professors blame him. Oh, he's making money from academia source. Is that good? We are academia.
Hmm.
No making money. That's a way. This kind of a culture has been a long time. But now, many professors are now trying to setting startup and asking how to successfully make a startup and so on. And also, Ministry of Education has changed a lot because they also believe that academia should just focus to the papers, basic science, and so on. But because of the budget constraint and environment change, Ministry of Education changed, and they recommend the each universities to more focus to the commercialization and translational research. Otherwise, because the budget for basic research is now reducing gradually because of the constraint of the budget. This is a big issue. I personally believe that basic research budget should Japanese government should maintain or increase because the most strongest, the best, how do I say, the Japan has many strengths, but the most strong one is basic research. But Japanese government think because it's very strong, we don't have to invest such such large budget to them. But I think it's wrong because it's very strong. We have to keep. And in addition to that, a translational research budget is necessary. I'm sorry. So anyway, in our changing a lot, but there are many problems. For example, compared to the professors in U.S. Universities, Japanese professors have to do many documentary work or bureaucratic work a lot. They don't have any, almost no support for these things. It's quite difficult. So we need to change the environment for those professors, for them to be able to allocate their time, not only to paperwork or journals, but also commercialization or translational research and so on. And also, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Also, culture mindset is changing a lot within academia. So we need to, as I said, provide a good environment for them to be successful. Also, we need to transfer or share the know-how of business because they are academia, especially in Japan case, as I said, they are focusing only to the journals and the papers for a long time, right? So they don't know business at all. So in that sense, open innovation or cross communication or know-how sharing and mindset sharing is quite important between academia and industry people. That is the situation, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So they are probably too busy. Everybody's busy, but I was in academia in Japan one time when I was younger days, and as you said, yes, I need to see the patients during the day.
Yeah.
And when I finish, the clinical work, then my time for research starts. So I do the research, I go to the lab and research,
From
doing some
5 p.m.,
experiment.
6 p.m. or
That's
so,
right,
right?
that's right. Right, right. So 6 p.m. my research time starts. Then at the same time, yes, as you said, I have to submit for grant and a lot of paperwork and so on. So it's very hard, time-wise, especially to carve out their time into the startup or venture or business side of their endeavor. So one thing is, we were talking about, business in general in Japan, the hanko, the stamp culture has
Yes.
to change and should be more web-based, instead of paper-based, basically digital transformation, they call it now. But that should go to the academia, as well, because so that they don't have to spend their valuable time doing so much paperwork, so to speak, right? So that's one area, probably the discovery is done, but probably most of the time it's sitting there because they don't have time to move it towards more commercialization or more application. So that's probably the environment, work environment, in addition to their thinking or mentality, needs to change. And as you said, some examples, successful examples that will really encourage, them to see, oh, okay, there's one way to do it, another way to do it, and that will basically helping the patient, right? The most of the medical professions are there to help patients. So clinical side, you help patient one by one, but when you do a business with new medication, you may save tens of thousands of patients at once. So it's helping and just a different timeline and scale. So I hope more academic the researchers be involved in actual application towards the innovation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And may I say some comments about
Of
that?
course.
So, yeah, I believe so. The mindset is changing a lot, and as I said, academic scientists should know the business, but not perfectly. They should know the business, and they should. I don't say they should do business by themselves, because top scientists, I want to them focus, allocate many time to science in order to make more new discovery to contribute to the patients. So the point is how to find a good, how to make a good team, a good team with business person. In order to do that, scientists should know the business to some extent. But point is to find a good partner, business partner. Then business should be done, every day's business done by this business person. And to set up this kind of very good trustworthy team is very important. And actually, for the last 10 years or so, numbers are small, but real successful cases have been increasing. For example, Sunbio is listed in the mother's company, and founding scientist is Professor Okano of Keio University, who is also the board of director, chairman of the board of director of Linkshare. And 20 years ago, it's a long history. Young two business person visited him, and they they read all of his papers and journals. Then they believe that his discovery is great, can contribute to the society and the patients. So those two young people asked Okano sensei to let us make a startup company and become please transfer your discovery to serve patient, and it is now very successful. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, they were really enthusiastic. I met them probably 20 years ago in San Diego. They came
Yeah.
to visit me in San Diego with the idea of some bio, and
Right.
they are so smart. I think one of them your former colleague, probably Boston
Yes.
Consulting,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
the consultant. He was very
Yes.
smart, of course, and those those the gentlemen have a passion, and of course they are really willing to learn new things outside of the area. So that's really encouraging. And I think there are many younger generation people, men and women, would like to make an impact through those the innovative medicine. So let me, that's a good segue to move towards the other two. Science is one, and also very interconnected with management, talent, and funding.
Yeah.
So as Aki-san said, the government should should support pure science, or more of a deep science, basic science, in addition to more translational research that AMED started to support. But I think budget is limited, right?
Yeah.
So they have to make a prioritization. And that's why they probably cutting the basic science support and more towards translational at this moment. But if more private money, private funding comes into translational research, government can put more money back into basic research, right? So what do you see the trend of private funding into healthcare or biotech, so-called life science investment these days? Do you see any trends of increasing, or more sophistication, or more VC firms interested in life science investment?
Yes. When LinkedIn was established, it's about 6 years ago. In Japan, there are almost no venture capitals, VCs, focusing to this area, because it takes a longer time, and also a larger scale of investment comparing to the, for example, ICT industry startups and so on. And also, those VCs doesn't have any scientific background people so much to understand the life science area. So there are almost no VCs, but for the last 5-6 years, more VCs have come into this area. And I can say maybe 10 VCs who is focusing to early stage life science area, startup companies, investment, and so on. So trend is changing a lot. But as I shown in my previous slide, the scale of investment is quite small, much smaller, quite smaller than that of US, maybe less than 1/10 or so in total. So that's a big problem. So I believe that ecosystem of life science fields in Japan is increasing, growing, but still small. So it's a scale in each function. So if we rely on the how do I say organic growth of ecosystem, it takes 20 years or so to become the same level to US. But 20 years later, US level increased a lot more. So we cannot catch up. So in that sense, from the ecosystem point of view, I would like to invite more investment from abroad, especially in US. Because we can learn a lot. In US BCs, there are so many PhDs, people and so on, with PhDs and so on. So, and also how to support startup, this kind of thing, they know a lot. So in that sense, how do I say, education or know-how transfer from US BCs to Japanese BCs is very important. Also, as for the ecosystem point of view, within Japan, for example, in ICT area, its ecosystem is much has more history and the scale is large. So I'd like to invite investment from those other fields, ecosystem and investors. Like, for example, Rakuten, Mr. Mikitani, of CEO of Rakuten, have launched, how do I say in English, optical something
Right,
against
optical, yeah, therapeutics for
therapeutics against,
oncology, right? Yeah, the cancer
yeah.
therapy. Yes.
Yeah, it's a very center of the therapeutic area. But Rakuten has no experience in that area, but he decided to invest. For the first phase, he invested his own money, private money, then changed it into Rakuten's investment, like that. So I would like to support and promote this kind of activities.
Yeah, proudly, I point out that the original company, Asperion, is a San Diego company.
Oh, that's
great. so we have a good relationship with Japanese investors as well. Yes. So in order to attract, say U.S. Investors, VC venture capitalists and so forth, probably we will need to increase the exposure of the Japanese opportunity to the next level. So one is showcasing here in the US, Japanese, the startup companies showcasing here in the US. And as you know, you have just signed the MOU with the Kyoto University's on-site lab in San Diego. Let me explain to the audience. The Kyoto University is one of the premier university in Japan, and they have relationship with UCSD, us, and they opened their branch lab within UCSD campus. So they are, of course, among many universities, UCSD has relationship. Kyoto is very strong too. And they also have, like Link-J, Kyoto University, UCSD joint seminar series. I think it's almost a monthly seminar series between academics. But again, Kyoto University, since they have a relationship with San Diego, they are doing the showcase event, life science showcase event. This is the third year. Actually, we have another one next week.
Yeah.
This time inviting 16 companies, and 14 of them from Japan. And the presentation is in English, and they try to, showcase and introduce these the Japanese science and the startup companies for the opportunity to invest by US investors. And Soyama-san's group is the sponsor to that event as well. Yeah. And also probably we can, since Link-J has a strong network and doing more than 500 events a year, maybe you can invite maybe VC or investors in general from US to do it could be an online event of showcasing Japanese startup companies, from various ends. So I think, as you said, the ecosystem could be global, and easiest is the Pan Pacific, because Japan and California, for example, are just facing each other across the
very
Pacific.
close.
Yeah, and funding money is money, right? Money is easily transferable.
Yeah.
And technology is also, patent is, movable too, right? Mobile. But the last element, the human talent or management talent, that's a little bit difficult. For example, the Japanese startup company may want to recruit the U.S. managers or U.S. Executives, but not probably easy to relocate for them to relocate. How do we fill the void? Move the Japanese company to the US is one of the solutions. But there's a nice lab and a scientific founder in Japan. Can we educate some of those smart people, and recruit into this kind of life science startup world? What do you think? Is there good ideas or movement towards recruiting management talent?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Taka-san. So the people is most important. So everything relies on the people, how to do it, right? So in Japan, for example, now in academia, they understand people is very important. So now they have been launching lots of educational program for startup companies, how to set up startup, how to successful become successful. This kind of thing is now many activities have been done now, and I think it's very quite important, but it takes some time, of course. On the other hand, I'm very how do I say optimistic for the future because, for example, Luca Science is a startup company established in Japan, mitochondria therapy something area. Then their team is very global. They set up a subsidiary in UK, and some Japanese people, manager is there, and UK scientists work there, and also their COO is not Japanese. So in that sense, location is of course important, but it's not necessary to move to live in Tokyo or to move into Japan because the company is Japan. So it becomes more virtual or thanks to in that sense thanks to the COVID-19 situation. We understand we find that we can work remotely very smoothly, very well. So in that sense, to set up a team, global team with global talent, no nationality issue is doesn't care exists and so on. This kind of thing is very important. And actually, as I said, some companies have startups have already started this kind of operation. So how do I say to think about global. So we are serving for the patients. So patients means not only Japanese patient, US patient. There is patients in Africa and Asia. So we can serve those people. So we have to think about the market globally, of course.
Right.
And also the people and talent also gather globally. So the point is language barrier, of course, for many Japanese people, but younger people doesn't care, and they are very good at speaking or communicating in English. And also, thanks to the technology, there are many ways translation, simultaneous, automatic simultaneous translation. is improving a lot. And so the remaining issue is culture, I think. To overcome the work style or culture is very important, especially
Right.
Japanese traditional big companies. But younger people, startups, they are very flexible. So I'm very optimistic about that in that sense.
I see. Thank you. Yeah, actually, as you said, COVID is cursing, but in some aspect, probably blessing. As you say, remote work, modalities, or also the technology improved because of the COVID. I think everybody started using Zoom or Teams, that kind of remote video conferencing software. Quality is improving, and also people are getting used to working under this kind of environment. So yeah, in that sense, as I noticed too, it's much easier to do the international video meetings than before. We tend to hesitate, international meetings and in video, but now it's not that strange anymore. And we can listen to, the webinar in Japan easily, and East Coast easily. So I think that probably the next step is really forming an international management team to move the project or company forward.
Yes.
I think that's a great point. Let me check some of the questions audience asked. I think most of them we covered, fortunately. One thing is, let's see, Dev asked, are there any special themes in healthcare Japan can lead the world? When you see, many sciences coming out of the academia or, startup companies, in a certain aspect is very unique to Japan and the strongest aspect in Japan.
It's a very good question. So actually, regenerative medicine area, as Professor Yamanaka, Nobel laureate, announced the IPS, and so of course there are many issues between IPS versus or ES or something like that, but still very strong area. And also for medical device area in Japan, Japan is not so strong at this area at this moment. But if we think the future, the technology convergence with technology between technology and clinical needs or skills is quite important to develop new medical device. In that sense, Japan is very strong at this kind of device area, not only medical, but other device area. So I think very high potential with this medical device area. Maybe within 5 years or so. So yesterday and the day before yesterday, I attended a conference, Medotech, which is sponsored by AMED, and 15 themes were gathered. And it's a 2 years programs, how do you say, to announce the result of 2 years programs area. Each theme is very good, and the solution is also very good. So I'm very positive about that kind of thing.
Thank you very much. It's really promising. I think this even called is healthcare or life science. All the technologies from outside or kind of interdisciplinary development is a kind of norm now, and it's going to bring us a new therapies and services, devices probably sooner than we think. So Well, this will wrap up our session, and I thank you again, the Aki-san, for very insightful the presentation, the discussion, and we learned quite a bit about Japan's ecosystem. It's growing so fast, and it's really promising. Government is supporting, and new technologies coming out. So thank you. And the audience, we have the next webinar or Zoominar on March 8th, 9th in Japan time. And that's going to be a US-Japan relationship in Kishida-Biden era. And it's going to be another interesting discussion. Thank you very much for joining, and have a nice day. Have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.